Roblox is going IPO on March 10th, 2021. After initially delaying their IPO from December of 2020, it's one of the most sought after IPOs of this year. As of January 6th, they actually raised their valuation up to $29.5 billion, up from $4 billion last February. So is this IPO worth the hype? Let's actually find out today. What's up guys, it's Humphrey. Welcome back to my channel where I talk about personal finance and investing, and sometimes I like to cover IPOs. Today's video is about Roblox. It's a San Mateo, California based company that focuses on gaming and mostly has an online gaming platform. Now, I'm personally from San Mateo, California. I grew up very close to there, so that's why I really was kind of gravitating towards this company. And also, I used to work in video games, mobile games specifically, where I worked on some of the top grossing iOS games and Android games from 2014 to 2016. I do feel like that experience really qualifies me to speak about Roblox because I kind of understand most baseline revenue metrics when it comes to at least gaming companies. Now, I've covered two previous IPOs on this channel, and that was the Palantir IPO as well as the Airbnb IPO, and both of those I've actually invested a lot of my own money into those stocks. Now, admittedly, I've been doing pretty good in those stocks, but overall, the market's been really up as well, so I don't know if I can take credit for my investment picks in that situation. But today we're talking about the Roblox IPO, which is all that really matters. So should we actually buy this IPO? And today we're gonna actually talk about Roblox, and I'll give you a brief overview. We're gonna go over what they are, how they make money, to their financials, and then we're gonna go over the pros and cons of Roblox. And then lastly, I'm gonna answer if I'm gonna buy the stock myself when it goes on direct listing. So first off, let's cover what Roblox actually is, because a lot of people watching this channel might not know what it is. It's mostly a gaming platform that's pretty much designed for kids. Now, that's not to say only kids play it. However, their target demographic as of late, especially with the COVID pandemic, has been slightly skewing towards the younger side, so ages 13 and below. Roblox is a gaming platform that's super easy to sign up for. I literally was able to sign up, download, and be in a game within actually 1 minute and 20 seconds earlier today. Now, what's really interesting about Roblox is that it has over 150 million users, with about 31.3 million of those being daily active users. These users can design their own Roblox game, and that's actually part of the ecosystem, is that they actually have content creators or content developers making content for the other users in the game. These developers actually make money through Roblox's platform by selling what's called in-game currency. So if you're a developer and you create a Roblox game within the Roblox metaverse, you can actually charge money, like in-game money, for your services or for your game, and you can make a cut of that. With their Robux in-game currency, you can buy avatars, collectibles, cosmetic goods. You can even buy passes to games or passes to events. If you are a developer and you do create games for Roblox, Roblox actually takes 30% of that total revenue and takes it for themselves and gives you 70%. So this is actually a pretty interesting model, right? So the traditional gaming studio, free-to-play gaming studio, they'll make the content, they'll sell the content, and they have full control over that content. Roblox, on the other hand, is a gaming studio that gives you a marketplace and says, hey, why don't you guys make the game and you guys monetize the game, and we'll just take a cut. So in essence, they're basically a platform for creators to make content. In a sense, Roblox kind of operates more like an Apple App Store or a YouTube platform. Basically, they have creators or developers creating content for the App Store or for YouTube, and all they're doing is taking a cut, which is a pretty genius business model. So YouTube and Apple, they don't really make content either. I mean, you could argue that Apple makes some of their apps, but the majority of their revenue comes from other people making them money. So all Roblox has to really do is incentivize their developers to make really fantastic games, and hopefully the users within the metaverse of Roblox chooses those games to play. They share it with their friends, and the cycle continues. The developers make money because they're really happy and they're, providing a service to the users. The users are happy because they're getting a different experience, and Roblox is pretty happy because they're taking a cut of all of that revenue. As of July 2020, Roblox expected to pay out over $250 million to its developers in 2020, which means that Roblox itself was raking in around $580 million in revenue alone. That's actually pretty interesting, so let's use that as a segue to talk about our next topic, which are Roblox's financials from their filings. According to their filings for the first 9 months of 2020 compared to 2019, their revenue grew from $349.9 million to $588.87 million, or a 68% increase year over year. Now, that's pretty impressive, but not out of the realm of possibility considering COVID really forced a lot of people to be at home and for a lot of kids to probably sign up for Roblox. I think what's really more interesting is that their daily active users for that same period grew from 17.6 million daily active users to 31.3 million daily active users in a single year, which is almost double the user base. Now, I did some calculations for you guys, but basically 31.3 million daily active users with $588.7 million of revenue. That means on a per day basis, Roblox makes about $1.62 million in revenue. So if we just take that $1.62 million that they make every single day and divide it by the number of active users that they have, 31.3 million daily active users, we're actually going to get what's called the average revenue per daily active users. And when I do that calculation, it's actually around 5 cents average revenue per daily active user. That's also known as ARPDAU. Now, 5 cents ARPDAU is actually pretty low. So from my experience in gaming, I know that ARPDAU numbers can get really, really high up there, especially with hardcore RPGs. Now, with a casual game that's usually on the App Store, you're looking at around 10-cent ARPDAU. So in terms of monetization itself, I think 5 cents average revenue per daily active user is actually pretty weak. But the fact is they have 31.3 million daily active users, and that number just keeps growing and growing and growing. I do think in terms of monetization, they have a lot of room to grow. And so according to their filing, the majority of their players are not actually paying players. So that's somewhere where they could actually start with their strategy, is to try to get more non-paying users to actually be paying users. Now, in a free-to-play game, the majority of users don't actually spend money, but the users that do spend money, they spend a lot of money. And I've definitely seen that from my experience, guys. I've seen people and players actually spend upwards of 6 or 7 figures in a video game spending money on digital items. So let's talk about their marketing now. Now, in terms of their marketing, it went up from $31 million of marketing spend to about $42 million in 2020. But their revenue grew actually disproportionately, which is good. It means that their marketing spend was becoming more efficient as time went on. That could also just be due to the fact that they were probably getting a lot of organic reach and organic traction from COVID, forcing a lot of kids to be at home, and maybe a kid tells 4 of his other friends, hey, why don't you sign on Roblox so you can play with me? Now, their net losses actually grew from $50 million to $206 million in 2020. 14% of their revenue in 2019 was losses, and 35% of the revenue was actually losses in 2020. What we can actually see here is that they're increasingly investing in their infrastructure and trust and safety, R&D, and G&A across the board. So trust and safety is a big place where they're investing a lot of money, because the core demographic of someone using Roblox is on the younger side, a child or a minor, and they need to prevent people from exploiting them or doing creepy behavior online and basically protecting against that. Roblox has to make it the best possible place for these kids to be online and be themselves. And so if there's ever a compromise of that trust and safety, that could be a huge blow to their business and their brand. The other thing about their net losses is actually their revenue is recognized on a delayed manner. So let's actually read this excerpt from their filing where they actually address this. And I quote, "We generally recognize revenue from users ratably over the average lifetime of a paying user, which for the years ending December 31st, 2018 and 2019 was about 23 months. Therefore, much of the revenue we report in each quarter is the result of purchases of Robux during previous periods." So that's pretty interesting, right? We're seeing a lot of net losses on the actual consolidated financial statements, but the revenue is being recognized a little bit later on. So the fact is, we don't actually know how well their company is doing until maybe a little bit more time has elapsed. I think a better metric to look at for Roblox is actually their free cash flows. And so their free cash flow from 2019 to 2020 actually grew tremendously. It was $6 million in 2019, all the way up to $292.6 million in the first 9 months of 2020, which is absolutely mind-boggling. It shows me that they're doing something right. So in terms of what they're doing right versus what they're doing wrong, let's actually assess some of their pros, cons, and their risk factors in our next section. In terms of the pros of Roblox, there are a lot of them. So in terms of user growth and acquisition, it's been growing tremendously, especially over the past 3 years. I think they have a great business model in that other people actually make content for them, so they don't really have to always be pushing out content and don't really have to focus on that too much. Third is that the game is incredibly social. So if you have one kid telling 4 or 5 friends about Roblox and all of a sudden they sign up, Well, basically you just got 5 marketing like customer acquisitions for the price of 1, which is pretty great. Fourth is the potential to get acquired. Now the chances for this are a little bit on the slim side, but it's something that should still go into our decision here, because let's say Facebook does buy Roblox for some reason, they could really create like an epic partnership between Facebook and Roblox and leverage the social network plus the platform that Roblox has built. Now, lastly, let's talk about the lockup period. And the lockup period for Roblox IPO shares are actually 180 days. So what that means is the lockup period is the period in which employees and insiders cannot sell their shares after the IPO date. This prevents employees and insiders dumping all their shares on day one, thus tanking the price. So at least you're a little bit protected. If you do invest in the IPO, you know that the shares aren't going to be liquidated from the insiders for at least 180 days. They also note in their filing that the opening of trading on the 3rd trading day following the public announcement of our full earnings for the 2nd quarterly period is locked up. So that means after they announce their 2nd quarter earnings, you'll have 3 days before any insider is able to trade those shares. I think that's one of the pros that is not as talked about too often is what is the lockup period. And I think that this lockup period is actually pretty favorable for the retail investor such as you or I. Now let's talk about some of the risks, because it does have quite a few risks in my opinion. The first is that it's pretty hard to keep your user base. A lot of these kids are on Roblox because, well, they're kids. Now, when they all of a sudden turn 14, 15 or 16, they're not going to want to play Roblox. They're going to want to play Call of Duty. They're going to want to play Fortnite. They're going to want to play League of Legends, you know, AAA titles like Diablo 3, Diablo 4, World of Warcraft. I don't know, I can just go on forever, but what I'm trying to say is that at some point, Roblox might not be as cool as it used to be for these kids. So they basically have to keep refilling and refilling their user base. Now, if you remember from the filing earlier, they said the average lifespan of their user was about 23 months. Compare that to other businesses like Netflix, where the average lifetime span of a user is 38 months. That's a very big stark contrast. The next risk is that their net losses are growing. So what they have to do is they have to continue to increase their user base while at the same time hoping to monetize them in more and more ways so that they can actually become profitable. The third risk is that they depend heavily on the Apple App Store as well as the Google Play Store, with 34% of their revenue coming from the Apple App Store and 18% through the Google Play Store. So if any one of these platforms decides to change its cut percentage of what they take from Roblox, that could be a big problem. And the last risk that I see is that they really depend on a network of developers. And so when that happens, it's like, okay, you got to keep the developers happy at all times and well incentivized so that they continue to produce content that hopefully the users will actually want to play. So there's a lot going on with Roblox, and I'm sure I missed a lot of the risk factors that they listed in their filing, but I just wanted to highlight some of the ones that I found interesting. So am I going to buy this IPO? I'm going to try to answer that as best as I can. Now note, I am not a financial advisor, so take anything that I say as just my opinion only. And if you do choose to invest in Roblox, that's completely on your own, and make sure you do your own due diligence. Now, my short answer is that I'm pretty on the fence when it comes to Roblox because of their ARPDAU numbers. From a gaming perspective, 5 cents average revenue per daily active users shows me that the platform is not being monetized as well as it could be. And I think one of the reasons that is because the developers within Roblox are actually the ones creating those monetization loops. Most developers aren't really focused on monetization. They're just focused on creating a really good and enjoyable game, which makes sense. And because you don't have this focus from, let's say, some of the developers, then the monetization just might not ever be there. When the company that I was working for was working on a free-to-play game with heavy monetization, we had teams dedicated just to figuring out how to make money off of the in-game currency that we were selling. The other thing I'm not too sure about is that the Roblox valuation went from $4 billion in February of 2020 all the way to $29.5 billion in December of 2020. And they're going to list themselves for IPO on March 10th. And generally in the past few months, we've seen these direct listings go for quite a high premium at listing. So personally, I'm just not too sure what they're going to trade at. And if they open up on their IPO day at double what they actually list themselves for, now all of a sudden you have a scenario where they went from $4 billion to $29.5 billion, and all of a sudden this company's worth $60 billion, but they're still losing money and their metrics don't really account for that valuation. There are some good things about the company though, which includes their high growth, the fact that they've created a platform for developers to create digital products. Third, their main audience is kids, so the kids are going to ask their parents for their credit cards in terms of monetization, which is always good. Fourth, they try to take advantage of network effects, and digital products are always really high margin because you're basically selling something that doesn't really exist for real cash. The other thing I could see with Roblox is that it could become a meme stock, and I don't know what it is with Reddit, but they really like gaming and entertainment stocks, and I can't believe I have to actually consider this as a real possibility in my analysis, but there is a chance that Roblox could become a meme stock. If that were to happen, you could see the short-term price of Roblox become incredibly inflated and very speculated on as well. So since I'm on the fence about Roblox, what I plan to do in the coming weeks is to try to interview more people that play Roblox, or at least parents of kids that play Roblox, and see how addicted they are to it. I personally am gonna try to play some more Roblox on my own as well. I'm just trying to see if there are some intangibles that would sway me to invest in it. Now, if I were to ever invest in it, I'm only going to use the funds that I have set aside for speculative type plays. Now, if I do invest, I'll probably hold it for a short period of time. Anywhere from 3 to 24 months is typically my time frame for holding a speculative stock. And I'm gonna really pay attention to the Q2 earnings because I know that the lockup period ends 3 days after the Q2 earnings report. All right, guys, let me know what you think about the Roblox IPO in the comments below. Let me know if you're gonna be buying Roblox as well. And if you got any value out of this video, make sure to drop it a like and subscribe to my channel for more personal finance and investing content in the future. If you'd like some free stocks from Public, Webull, or Robinhood, these are all trading apps that you can use to buy stocks. I have links in the description below for that. Also, just a huge thank you to all my patrons here still supporting me. I appreciate you guys all being here, watching my videos, and I'll see you guys in the next one. All right, peace.